Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about email validation on your landing page forms. Okay, the benefits of doing it, which is to make cha-ching a lot more money here. So basically what you're talking about here is on your contact forms, on your landing pages that you're driving traffic to right now. Of course, if there's a field on there that says email address, which obviously most of you guys have that already. Being able to verify that the email address that they're inserting in there is real can make you a lot more money from the same exact traffic that you have coming into your website if you go ahead and do that. There's a couple main ways that you can do that, of which one of those ways is to actually literally legitimately make sure that that email is real before they can even submit the form. A lot of people don't even know that's possible. You can do it through a third-party service that you use in conjunction with your website, with your landing pages, and of which is why I decided to make this video here today, is to share with you this method here and what it can do to your actual results. I'll talk about how we've actually used this in the past and what kind of results you can get with it when we used it in those exact type of niche situations. So with that said, I'll get directly into the content. There are two different ways, as I mentioned just a second ago, that you can verify that the people putting in an email address on your contact forms, on your landing pages, or even on your main website if you're just doing that, to make sure that you actually have a real email address at the end of the day. Because obviously there's a lot of people, they might accidentally type in the wrong email address, but more so you're talking about people filling out the form, putting a bullshit email address in there, and a real phone number because they just want you to call. They don't want you to email them. Or they'll put in, a lot of times the second thing would be to put in an email address that is like a throwaway email address, which you can't necessarily fix that per se. But you can fix them giving you just an outright wrong email address, which a lot of you guys, just to lay it all out there and up front, most of the time when somebody fills out a form, or should we say more than 50% of the time when someone fills out a form, they are filling that form out because they want you to email them. We'll say 50% of the time. So you don't have to worry about them giving you the wrong email address. It doesn't serve them to give you a fake email address. However, the other half or less of the time, they want to call you, but they can't call you because it's outside of business hours, assuming that you're advertising outside of business hours. So what do? They fill out that form so you could call them back during business hours, and so that they don't forget who you are, and that they basically are putting their name in to talk to you. And it's the easiest way to do that is just to fill out the form and have them call you when you open up the next day, or maybe on Monday, which is why you want to have a real email address from them, so that when you call them, because when you call them, a lot of times it's been a while since they went to your website. A lot of times they aren't going to remember who you are. A lot of times they contacted 3 or 4 people on top of everything else. When you call them and they don't recognize your phone number on their caller ID on their cell phone, they will not answer the phone. There's been a major shift in how user behavior has went with people filling out contact forms and coming from ad campaigns, particularly from Facebook ad campaigns or display ad campaigns. It used to be back in the day, somebody filled out a form, you call them, they would remember you called, and they would actually pick up the phone, even if they didn't recognize your number on the caller ID. Nowadays, it's literally like a crapshoot. We're talking 10-20% of the time, if you run a Facebook campaign and they fill out a phone number on and through your web form there, that they'll answer the phone when you call them up the next day, or whatnot, assuming that you don't call them right away. By the way, the best way to fix that particular issue is just to call them back within 15 minutes so that they aren't moving on to talk to another vendor and ultimately just won't forget you. If you're going to wait a day, you're basically just throwing your money away at that point. So anyway, the reason why I bring that up is to substantiate the value of the email address, knowing that even if they intended to have you call them at the time of filling out the form, they don't remember you, you're not going to get a hold of them because of that. The email address is your secondary chance to get a hold of that person. So there's two ways to make sure, though, that you have a real email address. And if you can get a real email address more of the time, you're going to make more money, assuming you know what to do with the email address and take full advantage of it, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Which is more than, by the way, emailing them and saying, by the way, hey, you contacted us. You want to hire us or not? Or you want to buy from us or not? No, I'm talking about an email drip sequence where you consistently stay in contact with every person who's contacted you. I do it on our own website. And it makes us a lot more money because we do it. You can make 10 to 50% more money instead of just using an email to get back to somebody, putting them into a drip sequence right away and having them read helpful, building value with that user, building a relationship with that user with the email content you can drip out to them over time. If you want to see a perfect example of how to do this the correct way so you make 10 to 50% more money from the same amount of leads that you have coming in because you're using your users' email addresses at the full advantage as you can, or for the full advantage you can, at the fullest, for getting the most out of them you can, go ahead and, I'm not going to sell you anything. It's not what this is about, but you can go ahead and you can type your email into one of the forms on our website at guaranteedppc.com, and you can see how I do it. I send a weekly email out. That email does not sell anything. It's just it's to market our blog, which on the blog itself, we're just showing you different ways to make money with online ads for your business. And the email just sells, if you will, the blog. And so it's just selling you on reading some more information that we put out about how to make more money running ads for your business with actual case studies and so forth. So every week, instead of being like, oh, this is an ad, forget about it, you're like, oh, I liked what I saw the last time. It was useful. I'm going to read this email because the last email you sent me was useful. And it's not about selling anything. It's about building up and staying in touch with that user in a way that they are going to respect you, know, like, and trust you. And so when the time is right to do business with you, they are serious about doing business with you, because a lot of times when they contact you, they weren't quite ready to buy yet. They were still in the research phase of buying. Or they thought they were ready to buy, but then they got kind of cold feet, but then later on it'll be the right time. You've actually stayed with them the whole time in a way by building legitimate, real value with them and not just selling. And so that when the time does come for them to buy again, you're the first person in mind, you're top of mind, they're the first person that they're going to consider. And then therefore, because you did all that, you get the purchase with them. And you wouldn't have got that purchase if you didn't stay with them in a valuable way. A lot of people try to do email marketing, but then they end up just sending out garbage crap that nobody cares about or just that sells. And that's not what the opportunity isn't there. The opportunity is in figuring out what they would want to see. And if you're selling something where legitimately you can't think of a way to build value, you send out an entertaining newsletter that's branded by your company, and you go that direction, because that still is another alternate way to go out, staying in touch with that user so that when they are ready, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, you're the company that they respect, know, and like and trust at that time, and they'll just go with you. So anyway, you get more email addresses that are real, the more you can actually stay in touch with people, the more your sales you're going to make. You can do that. So, and I'll tell you got to do is to get 10 to 50% more emails is to verify the email is real before you allow people to submit the form. And with that, if it's like a software service or something like that, the best way still to do things is to make people verify a link in the email that you send to them after they fill out the form. But if you don't have that opportunity, you shouldn't just settle for junk emails. You should, at the very least, have the form field. You can't just, in the email field, in other words, you can't put, F you, I don't want to put anything in there. Or put just screw you in the email field, because, and then let you submit the form with that. Have the logic of the form actually say, well, there's no @ symbol in there, so therefore you can't submit. That'll increase the likelihood that you get a real email by a little bit, not much. It's so easy to do. You do that. But the real effective way to make sure you get more real emails is you use a third-party email validation service, which will in real time, which you can actually do this literally before they even fill out the form, which you may do, a lot of people do, or when they try to submit the form, it goes ahead and reaches out to this third-party service that can validate that email address and see if it looks like a real email, which it has. It's not perfect, but it'll, for the most part, be able to tell you with 90% accuracy whether that email is a real email address or it was just a fictional email that they just made up randomly. Okay? So most landing page programs have the first option built within it by default, by the way, where it won't let you submit in the email field anything but something that's structured like an email. That is, it has an @ symbol somewhere in it and a .com or a .net or something like that at the end of it. You need a third-party service like Quick Email Verification, which is the name of a service I've used. I don't know what the best one is that gives you the most accurate checking of emails to see if they're real. But that's one I could personally vouch for. You can Google them, Quick Email Verification, and you can use that service to verify the email is real before submitting the form. So literally, you stop them from submitting the form until they give you a real email address, which, by the way, if you want to extract the full value out of your leads, you don't actually stop them from submitting the form, and should I say getting the information from them that they put in the form, unless they have a real email address. You make it seem like the information they put in the form is not going to go through until they give you a real email address. But even if they don't give you a real email address, you still got everything that was in that form anyway. So you never want to stop somebody from giving you their information, but you can basically psychologically trick somebody into thinking that all the work they did to fill out the form in the first place will be thrown away if they don't give you a real email address. So there's nothing but upside, in other words. You're only going to get more emails while still not losing any emails from people that don't want to give you a real email address, if that makes sense. The cost of validating an email literally is like 1 penny per email. You just link to it through the API system of these services like Quick Email Verification, Quick Email Verification, and it'll literally go through their service, see if the email is real in less than a second, and then let the user submit the form if it is appearing to be a real email address or not if it doesn't. And like I said, your other option is as they type in the email address, you literally can have it to where it says, this is not real, until they filled out a full, literally, if your email was mark@gmail.com, right? As you type in just the first letter M, it'll say, sorry, this isn't a real email. And then you type in A next, it'll stop, and then right away it'll look like it's thinking a little bit, and then it'll say, this is not a real email. And then you go ahead and type R in after that, and then it'll think a little bit, and it'll say, this isn't a real email. And it'll keep doing that until you've actually gave them a real email address. So they know right up front as they're typing it in that they're not going to get by without giving you a real email address, which is a way to get a little bit higher compliance rates. For the most part, you don't need that though, because you just wait but just by waiting to the end when they submit the form, if it says this isn't a real email, you're going to get the person to go back and fill it out the right way. And so therefore, there's not any need for that. Now, if you're in a space where you're getting a super high percentage of fake emails, that is something I would consider strongly to consider there. So just depends on your situation. Now, by default, we're talking about 10 to 50% more actual validated emails you're going to get from your forms once you've instituted both of these things to your form. Or should I say, even if you have the first one, adding this third-party validation service to your form will get you 10 to 50% more real emails, okay? 50% if you're in a space where you're already getting a lot of fake email addresses because people normally don't want to email you. Whereas it's going to be more so like 10% more if you're in a space where people are apt to wanting to give you a real email address, like it's a dental service. You're not getting a ton of fake emails to start with. So in other words, the more fake emails you get, the more of a, effectively more of a bump you're going to get by validating the email address up front. Whereas the less fake emails you get, the less of a bump you're going to get. So in other words, if you only get 5% fake emails now, you're probably only going to get a total of, 4% fake emails once this is said and done with or whatnot. Whereas if you have 50% fake emails now, you certainly can get 30% fake emails once you add the service in. You get what I'm trying to say here? So more real emails will give you the ability in commodity markets to make a lot more money through the development that you can do with the customer relationships using that email. And then therefore, in those situations specifically, it'll always be very, very worth it to do this. So what I mean by this is, so in some businesses like my own, I'm not a commodity business here. We're a guaranteed PPC. We are the only ones that offer a contingency-based PPC management or ad management service program at our agency. So when somebody reaches out to us, and we don't advertise the traditional way where we're next to 50 other people that do the same thing, like on Google search, which might seem a little hypocritical. Why don't we do Google search ads when we, that's one of the things we specialize in. The reality is it's because we're not offering a commodity service, and it's a high-end service with high-end pricing. So it doesn't fit in with the people that are normally in the place where they want to just get a good enough provider, so to say. So with that said, when somebody fills out a form on our site, they're going to be apt to not only remember who we are when we contact them. As I mentioned before, that's the biggest reason why you can't get a hold of a form lead after they submit a form on your website. But also, they really want to get a hold of us when they fill out the form because we're unique. We're not one of 50,000 companies that also offer a divorce service or like that's a divorce attorney or it's accounting service or whatever. So in that situation, the email validation isn't going to be that useful for us in that case because they're going to probably give us a real email address because they're more excited in general about contacting us because they really wanted to talk to us because of the uniqueness of the service, so to say. And so with that, we're not going to get as much out of it, and not going to have to worry about them giving a fake email address. If on the flip side, if you are a commodity service, if you are a dentist, you are an attorney, whatever, you will benefit a lot when you get more real emails from the user, because a lot of people are going to contact 5 dentists, though, when they reach out to and fill out, when they try to contact a dentist for the first time, they might, and assuming they're the type of person who's going to fill out a form in the first place, they're going to fill out the form at 3 or 4 or 5 places because they know only 2 will get back to them or what have you. And in that situation, you're competing against a bunch of people at that point in time. If you've got a real email address, you can start communicating with them through email the way that I described before, where you are offering them as much value as possible. And so if they didn't make the decision to go to a dentist right away and they delayed it a while, you are first in the running to actually be the dentist that they go with because you used the email autoresponder sequence you had going for every person you did get a real email address from going in the background, which is, by the way, the best, the most highest ROI producing marketing activity you can do is email marketing because it's free to send out emails. And once you've created your sequence, there is no added cost to maintain it other than the email program, which is what? $50 a month, no matter if you're sending, 50 or 5,000 emails. And obviously it does go up in cost when you have more emails to send your emails to. But it's relatively speaking, you're talking about it's like a penny per email to send out emails to an email address list that you have. So there is no effective cost to stay in touch with an email once you got the sequence set up, the drip sequence set up, and will then extract now, like I mentioned before, 10 to 50% more customers out of the people that contact you because you can build up insane relationship value with somebody if you know how to do a drip email sequence right on the back end. Naturally, if you don't have a drip sequence, you're not going to get as much of a lift in total sales at your company from the same amount of traffic you have coming to your site, because getting a real email address means you only get an added ability to reach out to them right then and there, which you will get more sales that way, getting a real email address, given, like I said before, where a lot of times where you call somebody, even though they wanted you to call them initially, you couldn't get a hold of them, and now you can use the email. You'll get way, way more value out of getting more email addresses, real ones, when you can also get the added value of being able to have the drip sequence, get another person into your drip sequence that you wouldn't normally got otherwise. So you're just getting more. You have that many more whacks at people's business when you get a higher percentage of email addresses from every person that contacts you through the form. In other words, real email addresses, if you follow me here. So that is why you want to get more email addresses. And you certainly, as a part of this, if you aren't using an email drip sequence, you should definitely set one up, and you should do it the right way, the way that I talked about in this video and the way that we do through our own firm, because you'll get a lot more sales from the same amount of leads coming in, because people are so hard to get a hold of anymore when they fill out your form. And to fix that, you can actually call people up as soon as they fill out the form within 15 minutes. But even half hours, that doesn't fix everything in and itself. So the drip sequence really does help a business substantially have an edge on their competition. Instead of getting $1,000 worth of sales value out of a lead that cost $100, you can get now $2,000 worth of value out of the same $100 average cost per lead, because you're getting twice as many to sign up with you. Maybe not right away, but within the next 5 years, because they were paying attention to your email sequence that you had going, that you so-called automatically signed them up for when they initially contacted you for services, whatnot there, or products. You're doing products. So anyway, with that said, 10 to 50% more real emails than you're getting before when you add real verification of emails. Less if you get less fake ones now, like maybe 10% more. More if you get a higher percentage of fake emails right now. So whether you end up on a 10% or 50% in the range of how many more real emails you get as a ratio of real to fake depends on how many real or to fake ones in terms of a ratio you have right now is. Okay? Wrap it up with that. Hopefully that made a lot of sense. If you have any questions about anything, though, that I mentioned here, or any other ad-related question or marketing-related question, you can always ask me down in the comment section. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment in the comment section, typically within 24 hours time. You can ask me any question you'd like. I love to give back to my viewers of this channel just as a thank you for helping the channel grow. If you are looking for one source of information that's better than any other source of information online about how to specifically run ads for your business that'll make you millions of dollars in sales revenue and profits for your business, this is the channel to subscribe to, as it's coming from somebody who manages personally dozens of ad accounts for clients that we have and businesses that we run at any given time, to give you the real information about what works and what doesn't work online versus what 99% of other people online are doing, which is they're getting information from secondhand or third-hand sources. They don't really manage, or should I say strategize, ad accounts as their sole job 40 hours a week like I personally do. So therefore, if you're serious about making money online, this is the channel you want to subscribe to, and you want to subscribe to it right now already if you really want to make some money. With that said, I also, by the way, have a blog that I write and maintain over that I mentioned on this video already. You can find that blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog. On that blog, there's literal step-by-step information and campaigns and strategies you can use to run ads for your business that will make money right away. If you like the information I give you on this channel, that's more like a high-level information, you'll love the blog even more because there's screenshots and everything else that supplement what I do on here on this channel there. As a side, as I mentioned, I run an ad agency here. This is the primary way that I make my money still. And with that, we have a signature service that's unlike any other service, as I mentioned on this video today, where we do not charge our clients fees until we can get them a certain minimum lift in the profitability of their ads up front. That is, whatever sales you're bringing in now from your ads, we'll make sure it goes up a certain minimum amount without raising your ad spend. That is, you'll get more profit before we take a fee. And the fee that we ask for is going to be less than the additional profit we're going to offer you up front. And if we don't do that for you, there is no fee. So I know it sounds too good to be true. The only catch is we got to know we can get great results with your stuff up front before we agree to take you on as a client. And therefore, we don't take on just any client on. But if you think you have something that we would be willing to work on, reach out to me at guaranteeppc.com. I'll be happy to give you a free assessment either way on what you're doing and estimate how much results we can provide for you, personally working on your stuff. That said, if you aren't looking to work with an ad agency per se, you like doing your own stuff, if we've worked in your niche market before, and we've worked in over 100 niche markets in the last 10 years of running guaranteed PPC, you can take everything we developed for your niche to get phenomenal results. That is the ads, the landing pages, the campaign templates, all of it, and literally copy and paste everything we figured out for your market, running ads for years in your market, into your ad account and get the same results we're getting now with none of the work and none of the money spent to get it. Of course, we sell these templates for a one-time fee, but there's no way that you're going to spend less money or less time doing it yourself when you can just get these templates for yourself, or it's going to be less investment in. You're going to invest less every time in getting it from us than what you're going to have to spend doing it all on yourself anyway. So therefore, you should definitely reach out to us and see if we've worked in your niche market, because if we have, we can tell you the results we're getting in your market. And then with that, you can literally just copy and paste the results we have into your own ad accounts. We've got people that use these templates to start new businesses even. If you want to start a business that's basically guaranteed to work, start with a template that markets a product or service for a client that's already making lots of money in a market that they're not in geographically. That is, if you want to sell a product or start an e-commerce business that makes money right away, take one of the templates we have that markets a product in the US and run it in the UK, which, if our client's not in the UK and you are, you can easily do that and have a turnkey business essentially. We also got, by the way, people doing, starting e-commerce businesses, not only that, but like lead generation businesses where they'll get our plumbing campaign template that generates leads in the plumbing space for rock bottom rates, and they'll use those leads to sell to other plumbers in the local space that they're in their city. Whereas our client's in city A, you're in city B, you can easily do that and there's no conflict of interest, and you'll have everything to run that business efficiently just by having your hands on the exact thing we spent years of time and 7 figures of ad spend to figure out exactly what works the best in that space to generate rock bottom lead costs. And which is by the way, if you sell leads, that's the best passive income business idea that I could possibly think of that you can do, because it's all automated once it's set up. Anyway, if you're interested in that type of opportunity as well, you can also reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. I'll wrap everything up with that. Hopefully this video made a lot of sense to you, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.